Today we're going to be talking about the CCM Axis mask after 3 months of use, and whether you, that's right you, no not him, or him, whether you should be buying the mask or not. Coming up next. How's it going, guys? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nick the Goalie. I make goalie content on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, and if you're a fellow tendy or you just love the great game of hockey, consider subscribing. To start off the video, I'm going to tell you a little story. I don't know about you guys, but I've always worn a Bauer mask, and when it came time for me to get a new mask, I was open to trying CCM. So I tried on a CCM GFL mask, and I personally loved how it felt on my head compared to Bauer, so I ended up buying it. My buddy Brian at Timeout Source for Sports tightened my mask all up for me, and I left it in my basement untouched for a few months before I could afford to get it painted. So when it came time to send off my mask for painting, I decided to take it out of the bag one last time to take a look at it, and I'm super thankful I did that because, well, this is what the foam looked like. The way that the backplate was sitting was crushing the foam to the point where it was starting to peel. Now, I've never had this issue with Bauer, so I was very concerned. So I rushed down to Timeout Source for Sports because my mask was still under warranty, and I talked to my buddy Steve, who was able to connect with the reps at CCM, and they said, we can't send you a new GFL mask because we don't make it anymore, but we'll send you the Axis mask instead. I'd like to give a huge shout out to Steve at Timeout Source for Sports for really bailing me out on this one. The only time I have the backplate on is when I'm on the ice now, in the hopes to have that never happen again. So that was my experience right away making the switch from Bauer to CCM, and I definitely questioned my purchase after that whole experience came to an end. Before we talk about more of my issues with the mask, let's talk about some good things. First of all, it is the most comfortable goalie mask I've worn, and I really like the foam that CCM chose in terms of comfort, and I really like the feel of the backplate as well. Next would be the fluid inside pods. The idea of the fluid inside pods is to mimic the way our body protects our brain with that liquidy, gooey grossness between our brain and our skull. I'm trying to sound smart here, but I honestly just looked this up. I'm actually pretty stupid. I think it's called cerebral spinal fluid? I don't know, just the human body is just disgusting. I hate medically stuff like that. If somebody's bleeding, I'm fainting 100%. I haven't been hit in the head with the Axis mask too much just yet. Don't worry, it's gonna happen, and it's gonna happen in warm-ups. It always does. But I can definitely say that the impact has been a lot easier to take. Whenever I got hit in the head with my old mask, I felt the impact quite a bit more, and I'd always have ringing in my ears for a couple minutes after impact without fail. Since using the CCM Axis mask, I have yet to have ringing in my ears, which is probably a good thing, right? And the last thing is, it dries out really fast. As a beer league goalie, you gotta play a lot of double headers, and in my case, you gotta get off the ice, drive to a whole other rink, and be on the next ice time in as little as an hour. And by the time I get all my gear on for the next ice time, my mask is almost 100% dry, which I really like. And now it's time for more of the bad. I did say that I liked the comfort of the foam, but I do question its durability, especially after dealing with my GFL mask. Like I said before, the only time I have the backplate on is when I'm out on the ice, and it seems to be helping, but I'd like to mention that I never had to deal with that when I owned Bauer. Next would be the blind spot. Now, I have this mask cranked to as tight as it can go, but I still have a little bit of a blind spot around the sweatband area. I've given up so many goals because of it. I can't tell if it's my defenseman in the slot or an opposing player. So what I've had to do is I had to adjust my head angle so I can get a better view of who's actually in the slot and if they want to score on me or not. After wearing the Axis mask for the first time, I went back home and tried on my old Bauer mask, and I gotta say, the visibility in the Bauer mask was so much better. The last thing isn't a huge deal, but I'll include it anyways. I like the sweatband and how fast it dries, but the CCM logo comes off almost right away. Again, not a big deal at all, but I thought I'd include as much detail as I could into this review. So the question is, would I buy the CCM Axis mask again? And sadly, my answer is no. Sure, I have a more protective mask than my old one, which is a big deal because obviously the mask is one of the most important pieces of equipment that a goaltender could have, but for $1,050 Canadian, I think I would give up the few things that I actually like in this mask and make the switch back over to Bauer. I do feel like the CCM Axis mask could be good one day, but as of right now, it's really hard for me to recommend it to you guys. So that about does it for this video. I'm sorry it was a bit of a downer, but I really wanted to get this review up there in case some of you guys were thinking about buying the mask. But do keep in mind that these are my personal thoughts on the mask, and just because it doesn't work for me, doesn't mean it won't work for you. Don't forget to poke check that like button if you liked the video, and subscribe for more goalie content. I'm Nick the Goalie. Thanks for watching.